Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I'm experimenting with chameleon paws where I'm doing a flip cup and then I'm adding some silicone oil afterwards in a pattern. So I did one really recently with a spiral, which I really liked, but this time I'm going to create some little flowers with the cells. So dip the pin in a little flower shape and then maybe even do a balloon kiss in the centre to create a kind of flower effect. Really nice, rich, warm colours I'm going to use. So I'm really excited to get started. So the colours that I'm using: light rose by Amsterdam, crimson by Amsterdam, gold by Montmartre, purple from Art Discount, and Amsterdam Venetian rose. They're all mixed with PVA glue and water pouring medium, and I've mixed them 3 parts pouring medium to 2 parts paint. So they're quite runny, they just flow really nice and smoothly. I don't want the pour to be too thick because when I add the silicone afterwards, I want the deeper layers of the paint to be able to come up and lift up through the centre, and if it's too thick, it won't work. So I'm going to do 3 cups, layer up 3 cups first of all. I'm going to pour the paint just down the side because it's a bit runnier than my normal flip cup mixture. The colours are going to blend a bit more, so I'm just going to pour them down the side just to try and avoid a little bit of the muddying at this stage. So I've got a 40cm canvas here. So I'm just going to flip all my cups over. And then I'll just burp them, just a little bit of air out. So that just helps the paint to flow down the cup. Oh, this one's on the move. And then I'm going to tip them in so you get the beautiful wave of colour pooling into the centre. Is what I quite liked last time when I did this, is you get a kind of a design where the cups meet, so you've got a real contrast of colours there. I'm just going to drain these cups just to get every last bit of paint out of these cups, because then it will just help the puddles to flow in a minute when I tilt them out. I'm just going to put a little bit of tape around the edges, the top of my canvas, and maybe the sides, so that when I tilt the paint up in that direction, it's not all going to come flying off. Right, so let's just start stretching this out. So I'm just going to get the top of the canvas covered first. Actually, I think now if I take this off now, because I do want the edges to be covered. So I don't want to get the weight of the paint right down the other end and then realise I need to take it back to get these edges covered. So let's just see, some of that might just drip down naturally. It is slightly. Okay. Right, let's turn this round. These colours are looking absolutely gorgeous. Might torch it next. Now, as I said, there's no silicone in this, but I will naturally get a few cells where I've got some air bubbles. But that's fine. So let's tilt off here. So this paint here, this will just go off over the edge, but the reason I've put this on here is just because it's going to help it to flow now. The paint much prefers to flow over a wet canvas than a dry canvas. It's much easier. And I'm happy for it going off over the edges now, because I need to actually lose a bit of this paint now, because I don't want it all to stay on. If it all stays on, it will be far too thick and therefore won't dry properly. Right, I am really happy with that. That is so pretty, even just like that. Really happy with that, because you can see the different cups, and there's a design within it. If I just did one big cup, the colours would muddy more, and you just wouldn't quite get the same pretty design, I don't think, in the centre. So I'm just dabbing my edges. There's just a few little bare patches in between the drips, so I'll just make sure all the edges are covered, and then I can start to work a bit more on the design on the canvas. Right, so I now want to add some cells in a flower shape. So I've got some coconut milk hair serum made by OGX. So I'm just going to put a little dot of it onto my worktop here. And then I'm just using one of my jumbo push pins, and I'm going to dip the very end of the push pin into the oil. And then just dip it into my painting. So I'm just thinking about where I'd like these flowers to be. I think kind of quite random. Bits that I don't like as much. I don't like this as much. So let's put a flower in here. So I'm putting one cell in the centre, and then I'm just going to go around the edge and just wait and see what happens. So at this point, I will work out whether my consistency is right. So they're expanding quite nicely. So I've just gone for a few more petals on this next one. See what happens. So I finished dipping the silicone oil in now. So I've got some really quite pretty flowers, really quite like them. And one idea is that I just leave this now and let this dry without doing my balloon dips. But the downside of that for me is that there's some areas here for the background that I don't really like. There's some pale pink that is sitting over the purple and red here, and I just don't like it. If it all were all like this, really nice and bright and bold, I probably would leave it, but I'm not keen. So what I'm going to do is the flower dips as I first planned, and then I may end up doing a little bit more silicone little dots in between. So I've just got a balloon. I've tried to keep it quite small. Now there's a bit of a point to this balloon because I haven't blown it up very much. So I'm going to go in with the point first and just see what happens really lightly. Right, quite like that. It might be a bit runny. We'll see how it holds. just to try and talk you through what I'm doing. As I'm dipping it in, I'm having a look, because if I push it all the way down, I'm going to totally lose the edge of the cells. So I'm stopping pushing it when it's coming towards, the balloon's touching towards the edge of the cells. So that way, when I lift it up, I've got this really beautiful cellular pattern. Floral pattern. So I'm not dipping it all the way. I'm really doing it just quite lightly. I am so happy with that. I am so excited. It's not enough flowers though, so I'm going in again. I'm going to do some more in between, because they're absolutely beautiful. I'm really, really happy, really excited by this. This is working better than I thought it would. So it's now finished. It's about an hour later, and I actually just came back and dipped my finger in the very centre of each flower again, just to help that because the paint will have thickened, it will just help the flower, the kiss in the centre, just to hold a little bit better. I'm over the moon with this. Absolutely love it. I love the colours. I love the composition. The flowers have just worked out so much better than I thought they would. I was really, really gentle with the flowers. So I found I was doing a few smaller ones like this, and actually you only need to touch the balloon in the very, very centre. You don't need to press it all the way down, just the very centre. So it just literally connects all the little cells just in the centre, leaving the petals. They're all totally different, which I love. Different shapes, different sizes. I made the bigger ones by putting more petals and having them slightly further apart. So it meant I was able to get just some little tiny ones just to fill in some of the gaps. Then what I did was actually made a few more just individual cells. In fact, I haven't done it to this one. Individual cells, then I've just very gently touched it. Let me just try and do this one. And it kind of makes it a little bit more subtle, and I think a little bit more like a petal that's flying away. So you can see I've got quite a few of them. So it just adds a little bit in the background of the paw, just a little bit of detail. So it's not plain, but it doesn't detract, I think, too much from the flowers. So I just can't believe how well this has worked. I'm really excited about it. I mean, some of them, that one, just almost perfect looking around the edge. It's just so pretty. So I like it because you've got some really symmetrical looking ones, but then some very random, some with bigger and smaller cells. I think that one, I added a couple of extra little dots later on in the gaps. So yeah, really, really happy. It's very full on, very crowded, but that's what I quite like about a painting. So yeah, just fingers crossed this dries well. So it's now dry. Here's the final result. I am so happy with it. It's just so fun. It just makes me smile. I think it's the colours. The colours are so warm, and love pinks and purples. And it's just happy. Let me take you into my favourite flower. So pretty. It's one of the bigger flowers. It's really well defined with the white. I just think the effect is so cool, so pretty. I just so happy with it. Really happy the fact that you can see the original paw in the background, so you've got some design there, but then it's just covered in these total chaotic layer of flowers. So some are really regular, some are a bit distorted. You've got little bits and pieces going on in between all the flowers. Love the centres of the flowers. I'm glad I went back and just dipped my finger in again, just to pull all those colours together in the centre. It's just so pretty. Definitely want to do more of them. That's a pretty one as well, again with the white surrounding it, just highlights it a bit more. I could embellish it and I could go round the flowers in a different colour, and I think that would look quite good, but also would it just detract? Would it then look a bit fake, a bit artificial? Whereas this, there's something just so sort of natural about the natural colours around each flower that highlights them. So I think, for example, that one, what colour would I highlight it with? I think I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then just to show you the shimmer on it, look at the gold. Really pretty, really pretty. The gold is just scattered throughout. There are a few patches that look wet. So example there, I think if you can see that. And that is just some of the oil that's sitting still on top of the painting. Now, a lot of artists get really upset and worried about oil on paintings. I don't have a problem with it. So I will use a wet wipe just to clean my painting, to remove the oil. And then I varnish it with a few really thin layers of varnish and a sponge. I'll put my varnishing video, I'll put the link in the description of this video if you want to see how I varnish it. And I honestly don't ever have a problem with silicone paintings. So thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, if you like the painting, please hit the thumbs up button, and just let me know what you think of this technique. Give me some ideas if you have any for colour schemes or what I could do next with this, because I'm really happy, really excited by this method. Great, thanks for watching. Bye.